finally joined the Horde in its rage against the foes that seek to destroy us. As a child, I was known for my talent with nature. I felt like I could control the elements around me. I could call for rain in dry seasons. I could clear rocks that blocked my path. I could start a warm fire on the coldest nights. I could make the breeze feel gentle and calming. We sunwalkers were trained from small cubs to be warriors, protectors, and be one with nature. However, there are times where we may need to be more, and there are times where we may need to sacrifice these values for the greater good. We must always stand for what is right, no matter the cost, even if it's against our own brethren. Sometimes we cannot always have the peace we wish for. I was born in a time of war, a war against humans, demons, and dark lords of the void. I am not yet familiar with many of these enemies, but I must find out more to become strong enough to save our world from those who wish to see it burn. My elders say I am not yet ready for what lies ahead, but I disagree. I have become of age. I will set out my own journey
That's
today.
amazing.
My whole life,
Thank you
I
for
have ran the
joining.
fields of Malgor. It is no longer the safe, peaceful haven it once was.
I don't think I've...
Day. Today is the day. Today I rise as a sun walker. I am part of the next generation of Tor. I can finally join the Horde in its rage against the foes that seek to destroy us. As a child, I was known for my talent with nature. I felt like I could control the elements around me. I could call for rain.
It's not a screen, it's on my wall.
I could clear rocks that blocked my path.
Why does it look shitty?
I could start a warm fire on the coldest nights. I could make the breeze feel gentle.
It's a projector, but it's not a screen.
Sunwalkers were trained from small cars to be warriors, protectors, and be one with nature. However, there are times where we may need to be more, and there are times where we may need to sacrifice these values for the greater good. We must always stand for what is right, no matter the cost, even if it's against our own brethren. Sometimes we cannot always have the peace we wish for. I was born in a time of war, a war against humans, demons, and dark lords of the void. I am not yet familiar with many of these enemies, but I must find out more to become strong enough to save our world from those who wish to see it burn. My elders say I am not yet ready for what lies ahead, but I disagree. I have become of age. I will set out my own journey here today. My whole life, I have ran the fields of Malgor. It is no longer the safe, peaceful haven it once was. There are enemies in our land, and I must do something about it if I ever want to leave here and become a worthy shaman of the Horde. My name is Ragnarok, and I will start my journey here and now. I cannot do it alone, so I will join the Horde and help them fight for what is right. Now, my journey begins here. I must first learn the ways of the shaman and help defeat the enemy invaders of Mogul.
So thank you. Thank you for visiting. What happened? It was only like 2 minutes long? What the f... Which one was the other one? Was it even good? Okay. Which one was the other video? What was it called? Shaman. What was it even called? You know, shaman. Shaman and classic, wow. Was it any good?
Hi, my name's Willie. I'm going to be looking back at each class in vanilla and answering a very simple question. Was it any good though? Today we have the shaman. Here's the points I'm going to be looking at. The leveling experience, how good they were at it and how fast they could level. The class quests, what were they for and how well they fit. PvE, dungeon and raid performance. PvP, open world or battlegrounds. And tier sets, the effects they had as well as the looks. Earth, wind, water and fire. The shaman is the horde exclusive class and is represented well in almost all of their races. Trolls with their voodoo, Tauren with their totemic buildings, and orcs with the war chief Thrall with himself as shaman. Shamans brought some truly unique group utility and provided so many different buffs it's hard to keep count. They were overall more of a supportive class and fit the role thematically very well. Let's get started looking at the shaman's journey through leveling. So the first thing to cover is that shaman leveling is more non-linear than other classes. There's so many weapon enchants, totems, shocks, weapon skills. Which is best? Well, the simple answer is it depends. Essentially, you want to cut back to using the bare minimum of spells which allow fast grinding without going out of mana constantly. Searing Totem, Flame Shock, and to a lesser degree, Lightning Shield are some of your most mana efficient per damage spells available. How about weapon imbues though? Well, generally, I found is from 1 to 30, use a one-hand and a shield with Rockbite weapon. Searing Totem, Flame Shock, and to a lesser degree, Lightning Shield are some of...
Okay, Lightning Shield. Flame Shock. And Searing Totem. Searing Totem costs the least mana? Okay.
One of your most mana efficient per damage spells available. How about weapon imbues though? Well, generally, I found is from 1 to 30, use a one-hand and a shield with Rockbiter weapon until you unlock Flame Tongue weapon, and then use that instead of Rockbiter, preferably on a fast weapon, like a dagger. Post level 30, use Wind Fury for a one-hander or a fast two-hander, and Rockbiter for a slow two-handed weapon. Rockbiter scales better with slow two-handed weapons, and Wind Fury will likely overkill enemies by a large margin, whereas it will have more chances to proc and less chances to overkill on a fast two-handed weapon. This is all pretty sort of mid-max stuff though. Honestly, if it was me, I just want to use a big slow two-hander with Wind Fury. You know, I want to see those big crits to spice up leveling a bit. Shamans have learned Earthbind Totem early on, which can be used to kite enemies between your attacks, meaning you always trade one for one hit. Ghost Wolf was one of the abilities that made Shamans really good, and I would aim to pick this up and the talented version as early as you can. As I constantly mention in these videos, movement speed is your best stat while leveling, and by level 20 you could have 2 out of 2 in improved Ghost Wolf, bringing its cast time down from 3 seconds to 1, and Ghost Wolf provided a 40% movement speed buff, but was only usable outdoors. Also, a quick shout out to the fact Shamans could cast both water breathing and water walking, though both of them cost some materials. Try and see if you can keep a few of these materials handy from the auction house, who knows when they may come in useful. Also, Astral Recall basically counted as a second half step with a shorter cooldown. And finally, let's not forget Reincarnation or the number of healing spells. Shamans were very adept leveling class who had a bit of flexibility in all corners. Their only limiting factor really was their mana pool. It was more worth keeping an eye out for spirit gear on Shamans more so than other classes, since at the start of the fight you'd normally go Lightning Shield, Flame Shock, Searing Totem, then auto-attack the mob until it's down, and then repeat this cycle. This auto-attacking downtime will be more than 5 seconds and will allow the regen from your spirit to kick in, keeping your mana bar a bit more healthy and you going longer without needing to stop. The Shaman's class quests were mainly based around their totems. You couldn't just place a totem down because you'd learned it from the class trainer. You actually needed a physical totem representing that element in your bag. The first totem came very early at level 4, This sent you out on a short mission to earn your Earth Totem, which enabled abilities like Earthbind or Stoneclaw Totems to be used. Earth Totems were largely used for their utility and reducing damage taken. Next up, at level 10 was the Call of Fire to unlock your Fire Totem. This is another relatively short quest, taking place around the Barrens area. Since you're still such a low level, nothing's too far apart yet, though there is a fair bit of back and forth about reagents, eventually ending in defeating a fire elemental. Fire totems are things like Searing Totem or Magma Totem, and most of them exist to increase your damage done. The Water Totem's up next at level 20. Once again, this quest starts in Barrens, near Ratchet, and there's a little catch with this one though. The quest doesn't take place in the Barrens as the other ones do. It takes place in Silver Pine Forest, which is about as far away as it possibly can be from your current location. There isn't really a good way of getting there at level 20 either. It would most likely involve getting a boat from Ratchet to Booty Bay, running to Grongorrel Base Camp through Stranglehold Thorn Vale, through many mobs that will be able to one or two shot you, and taking a Zeppelin over to Brill, and then running all the way down to the quest location. If you're dead set on locking totems as you receive them, get a mage friend to portal you to Undercity, save yourself some hassle. And many people opt to do this quest at later levels, as water totems are more aimed at group rather than personal utility, and they'll be the ones that you tend to use the least. While leveling, water totems are focused on regenerating stats and debuff removal, and include things like Mana Spring or Poison Cleansing Totem. Finally, at level 30, the Earth Totem. This is a pretty straightforward quest. It's like a pilgrimage to earn your final totem. Earth Totem filled a number of roles, but it also unlocked your most powerful totem by far. The totem that suddenly made you the best friends with every rogue and warrior in the land, Wind Fury Totem, which gave any attack a chance to proc an extra hit with bonus attack power. Following this, there was the standard Sunken Temple quest at level 52, giving some gear, and finally a quest at level 60 in Scholarman's that awarded the Sky Fury Helm. An epic from a quest reward is pretty rare, so there's definitely a nice piece to get hold of. To recap, I'm a big fan of the decisions to make totems actual things you carry, something tangible, enable the use of the totemic abilities. For me, the Shaman quest filled the class fantasy really well, and since they're basically mandatory, it's a good job they're well done. So let's take a look at how the Shaman performed in PvE encounters. Well, if it wasn't clear yet, Shamans are one of the hybrid classes, and just like the Paladin or the Druid, they took hits on performance in order to provide valuable buffs to their party. Dungeon-wise, they were fine. The totems could hit the whole group, and a bit of off-healing never goes amiss. However, things were different in raids. So I want to start off by talking about Shaman's role in raid as a whole, rather than going straight into specialization specifics, because whatever spec you're playing, there'll be certain things that you are always doing. This is related to your totems. As any shaman, you will be in a group and keeping your assigned totems up at all times. This is the main reason people will bring you to a raid, whether it's with melee, healers or casters. I'll go into this in more detail later. You also had 3 resistance totems, Frostfire and Nature, which are all very beneficial for certain fights. Finally, you had Strength of Earth, a nice strength buff, and Grace of Air for an agility buff. These totems will be relevant on every fight in some form, and they were a key reason you brought a shaman to the raid. So on to more specifics now. Let's start with enhancement. And honestly, I'm having more difficulty saying good things about enhancement than I did with Boonkins. That's really where we are here. Whilst it is a great leveling spec, once you hit raids, it has a pretty dramatic fall. Simply put, shamans are there for totems, and having enough mana to maintain your totems whilst using DPS abilities and itemizing to put damage out just didn't really exist. You could only do one or the other, and even if hypothetically you did spend all your mana on doing damage, you'd still be nowhere near the top. So unfortunately, it was a bit of a struggle for the enhancement shaman. Don't lose all hope though. There is a niche for enhancement in raids that involve Nightfall, a two-handed axe with a proc that increases spell damage taken on the target by 15% per 6 seconds. Often this would be done by the off-tank warriors, but you could argue for having an enhancement shaman in the group too. Wind Fury procs increase the chance for Nightfall to apply. On top of this, the shaman could spec into elemental weapons and flurry, boosting the damage from Wind Fury for the party and their own attack speed occasionally. The extra attacks from Wind Fury also meant extra threat for the tanks too, so it all synergized up really nicely. I'll give you a quick example of what a spec looked like. This spec allows you to pick up all the improved support totems. Storm Storm Strike isn't really likely to be taken for two reasons. Number one, it costs a huge amount of mana that you need to be saving for your totems, and B, your raid lead probably doesn't want a debuff slot taken up by this spell. Going Restoration allows you to get Nature's Guidance, which is a flat 3% hit for all attacks and spells, which is fantastic. Also, you get Nature's Swiftness, and a well-timed Nature's Swiftness into a heal could save a tank easily. Going that extra mile is what you need to do to secure your raid spot with this spec. Moving on to ZG and AQ40, but hopefully you're able to get hit cap without Nature's Guidance. You can move the points over from Restoration into Elemental, giving you a bit more damage and mana efficiency through Elemental Focus, but still nothing really compared to the top DPS classes. So despite all this, overall the spec just isn't really good. Hunters spamming rank 1 Wing Clip are better at proccing Nightfall, and Resto Shamans can fulfill the totem role just as well while providing strong healing. If you have your eye on enhancement for the NJ PvE, make sure your guild doesn't mind you playing it first of all, and get yourself Nightfall. And now I'm going to go off on a side note and talk for far too long about enhancement. Tanking. Dungeons, 10 mans, off-tanking, main tank, what was the limit? I strongly believe Blizzard intended enhancement to be a tanking specialisation. It makes sense after all, right? Paladins had tank, heal and DPS, so it should only be logical that the Horde counterpart should also have the ability to tank, heal and DPS. At least that makes sense to me. Vanilla was an experimental time, and after all, enhancement has a little bit of everything thrown into the talent tree, to the extent where you could see them being a tank in theory. Extra armor, dodge, parry. There was also guardian totems and shield specialization, but it appears these were not more important than having extra mana or just putting out more damage and consequently threat. Speaking of threat, shamans have a decent way to pull in Chain Lightning and two abilities that generate bonus threat in Rockbiter, which would go off their auto attacks, and Earthshock, meaning their single target threat generation wasn't actually bad. And they also put out respectable damage in both single target and AoE. So what are the issues for enhancement tanking? Well, first of all, armor. You're wearing mail, other tanks are wearing plate, and other tanks also have the 10% boost in armor from talents. Druids have an extra 360% armor contribution from their items in dire bear form, so you've got the least armor. This means you have the weakest physical mitigation, and physical damage was frequently the main source of damage you were going to be taking. This combined with being vulnerable to crushing blows and critical strikes means you could drop very quickly. Next issue's no taunt. Aggro is based on causing enough threat to overtake the main tank or being the highest threat target, and your and even 10-man dungeons. As for raids, off-tanking low physical mitigation fights was a possibility. Of course, you're going to have to put a whole lot more effort in to perform basically worse than any warrior could, but if you really, really want to do it, it is an option and can be done. So on to Elemental now, and it's a similar story to Enhancement unfortunately. Everything you can do, a Restoration Shaman can do too, whilst healing. On top of this, you don't have the benefit of scraping some damage from auto attacks and maintaining totems, like Enhancement does. Elemental spells are quite expensive too, and you can't really afford to do anything other than Lightning Bolt, which is fine on short duration fights, so your damage can actually be okay. However, on longer fights, down ranking and even mana pots will be necessary to keep the Lightning Bolt spam going. On top of this, your fire totems, which are some of your most efficient damage sources, aren't going to be doing anything against most enemies in Molten Core and Blackwind Lair due to the very high fire resist. An Elemental Shaman would look something like this. This specialization picks up the vital elemental damage boosting talents like Elemental Fury and Lightning Mastery, while still allowing you to be a serviceable healer if necessary. As well, it picks up Tidal Mastery for some bonus critical strike chance. Just like Enhancement, this specialization isn't the best. The key takeaway here is that it's serviceable on shorter duration fights. Once again, as I keep saying, Elemental cannot bring anything unique that another Shaman specialization can't. So finally on to Restoration, and notice anything similar in hybrid classes, how the healer specialization always seems to be the go-to, and just like the Druid and to a lesser extent the Paladin, Blizzard decided that the 3 main raid tier sets were all going to be devoted